Hey there, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to this Wednesday edition of the Daily O. Tonight, we take a look at the football team as they prepare to take on TCU this weekend. We have some big-time national headlines, and Cowgirl soccer comes home for 2 games. All that and more coming up on the Daily O. Good evening and welcome to the Daily O. I'm Aaron Gonders. We're glad you're here. Cowboy football continues to prepare themselves for Saturday's matchup against the TCU Horned Frogs. Tuesday afternoon, players from Oklahoma State spoke with the media about preparation for the game and much more.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I was actually looking at the schedule. We have like pictures of who we play every week, and you guys know like Big 12. There's always this outstanding teams that are good, and then the teams that are not so good. But looking at the schedule, we have a long stretch. But it's exciting because you can't really relax or just chill. You just gotta give your 100% every time. But it makes the game a lot more exciting because it makes you better. It makes you want to practice harder, find ways to get better. So it is very exciting. For me, at least, I think just try not to do too much. Just keep it very simple because I'll give respect to that player. Dougie, he's a good ball player, and he does extend plays on his feet. So for the interior guys, we just got to keep them in our pocket and rush our own lanes. Not try to do too much and go far right or far left. Just kind of rush as a unit, and that's kind of like our goal as a defense. And how Coach Richmond has been pushing us, not so much rushing for ourselves and trying to get sacks, but just rushing as a unit, just so we can maintain him. Because we all know he's the bread and butter to that team, and if we get him down earlier and kind of get in his head, then it'll be a long day for them and a lot easier for us. They're just an all-around good team. They have experienced offensive line, and so up front, we just got to do our job. They have good running backs and good receivers, so all around, really it comes down to is we just got to do our job. Not only from up front, but I'm talking about to the linebackers, to the DBs. If we just do our own job and not do too much, we'll play good football.
Seemed like you took out some aggression.
A lot, yeah. I was kind of, determined to get out there on the field with them guys and just run through everybody and just let them know that I'm here to set a tone just because of that reason. And now it's I let everything go, but I'm still ready. I'm still going to run hard as I did last year and even harder. So I'm ready to go there. Because if the running backs don't run hard, then they're going to start backing up a little bit and covering receivers. So the running backs need to run hard and physical, just so we can help them guys out in the perimeter to help the receivers get the ball and do their thing out there. So it's really important this game to the running backs to be really physical, to get downhill. Dude is phenomenal. I mean, he's just a great athlete. Some of the catches he makes is just how did you make that catch? Yeah. It's insane. But he got great eye coordination. It's like a game for him, a video game. Yeah, it's crazy how he does it. But he's emerged a lot, and he's a big help for us for the offense. So he's been doing great.
I would say he's throwing the ball way better. His intermediate, his quick game, his deep ball is more accurate. I feel like his pocket presence is better too. So his passing is way better.
We preach confidence, and just the preparation throughout the week. It's like any guy can go down at any moment, and Coach Duffy tells us that all the time, and Coach Gundy says that all the time. Teams be ready. So they're kind of already ready and prepared throughout the week, and so when the game comes, it's they're ready.
The Cowboys have only walked out of Fort Worth with a win once against the Horned Frogs since 1946. Cowboys running back Dominic Richardson says the key to make it 2 will rely on letting his quarterback get to work.
They're physical. I know they can run too as well. They got some linebackers who can come downhill and flow over top and kind of key on the running back. So we have to be smart on play actions and Spencer do his thing whenever we get them play actions taken care of, and our receivers do their job as well. I think we'll be fine. So we just got to be physical.
Kickoff between the Cowboys and Horned Frogs is set for 2:30 p.m. While OSU continues to look ahead to the Horned Frogs, it never hurts to look back at the previous Cowboy win against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. While there was a multitude of Cowboys that helped contribute to their 5th win of the season, only one player can be named the Impact Player of the Week. Our own Zach Mullis has more.
After a hard-fought performance by the Cowboys last Saturday against Texas Tech, one player stood above the rest. This week, Oklahoma State's Bryson Green is the impact player of the week.
Bryson Green had 5 catches for 115 yards and a touchdown, and led the Cowboys in receiving yards. In the first quarter, Green was able to catch a pass from a running Spencer Sanders and reach for the goal line for a touchdown to tie the game up at 7. This is Green's 4th touchdown in 5 games, truly making him a red zone threat. His next big play didn't come long after, as he was able to catch a fade with a defender on him for 32 yards. They would score a touchdown on that drive, partly because of that chunk play. Then, on a 4th and 5, Sanders lobbed the ball up to Green, and he was able to come down with it for 28 yards. This would put the team in the red zone, and they would eventually score a field goal. Green's final catch would come on the last drive of the game for the Pokes, as he was able to get open in the middle of the field for 17 yards. After the game, Green stayed humble, talking about team success over his individual accomplishments that day.
I mean, it's always good. It's always good when we get a win. I'm happy no matter what at the end of the day if we get a W. If we're winning at the end of the game, the scoreboard says OSU to whoever, I'm good. So.
The sophomore receiver showed off some incredible skills on Saturday, and we all can't wait to see what he has prepared for us next week.
That was a lot of Cowboy football to start the show, but don't go anywhere. Coming up after the break, we'll take a look into your national headlines throughout the sporting world. Also, one Cowboy received preseason conference recognition. Stay tuned to find out more. We'll be right back.
Our state is one of the most beautiful and unique states in the USA. With diverse geographies, the historic Route 66, unforgettable restaurants, and some of the greatest people on the planet. With so much to see and so much to do, living in Oklahoma means one of the best vacation spots is right in our own backyard. Doesn't this story need to be told? As filmmakers and photographers based right here in Oklahoma, we thought so. And hey, who doesn't like a good road trip? So, we packed up our cameras, teamed up with Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell and the Oklahoma Tourism and Recreation Department, and that's how this series was born. We want to show you why traveling within the great state of Oklahoma is a great idea. So come join us for thousands of miles over the next year, from Broken Bow to Black Mesa. This is the Oklahoma Road Trip.
Pecans are staple to Oklahoma. In fact, many of our native pecans come from trees that are older than Oklahoma statehood.
My father's the one that got us started into the pecan picking. I was probably 10 or 12 years old, and we started off with one little mechanical picker that you pull behind a four-wheeler. Then we'd go home at night and we'd clean them on a TV tray. I guess watching my dad work hard when we were young, and people started trusting him and getting more and more groves, we just kept growing.
Being a relatively new and fresh company, we get to sit in the same room with people who have been a part of the Oklahoma economy for decades.
It's opened a lot of doors. It's gave us quite a bit of exposure, and I think people, will take a small company like us a little more serious. We're just going to continue growing as long as our community lets us and our customers keep on buying, and we'll see where it takes us.
Well, how I got started was my daughter said, "Mama, why don't we rent a booth at the Quarter Horse Show?" And it was very, very good because, when you're giving your jelly away for free, people really do love it. But when you ask them to pay for it, then that's a true test. What makes my product so unique is the Scotch bonnet pepper. And the Scotch bonnet is the Jamaican pepper. And I had lived in Montego Bay, Jamaica for 4 years. So I learned how to handle the pepper and how to cook with it. I always say, you don't do this on your own. I mean, you have so many people that help you along the way. For me and for many of us, that's my name on that jar, and it better be good.
Welcome back to the Daily O. Let's get into the national headlines. It's been more than 3 years since the Los Angeles Angels pitcher Tyler Skaggs overdosed in a hotel room. Now, the person who gave him those drugs will spend 22 years in prison. Eric Prescott Kay, the former communications director of the Angels, gave Skaggs fentanyl. There were text messages in Skaggs' phone from the day before his death suggesting that he had asked Kay to stop by his room with pills late that evening. Skaggs died, loaded up on alcohol and drugs, including high levels of multiple opioids. But officials say that if he didn't have the fentanyl in the system, the medical examiner determined the pitcher would not have died. The DEA's investigation found that Kay regularly dealt fentanyl, dubbed Blue Boys for their blue coloring, to Skaggs and the others in the Angels organization at the stadium where they worked. Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre says he's been unjustly smeared in the media over his connection to a massive welfare fraud scheme in his home state of Mississippi. He insists he didn't know the millions in grant money he helped secure for a volleyball center at his alma mater came from welfare funds. Same with $1.1 million he was paid directly for a PSA campaign. A state audit in 2020 found that more than $77 million was improperly used from the welfare program meant for the neediest families in the state. Instead, it went to expensive cars, a private school, and pet projects of celebrities and the politically connected. 6 people have been criminally charged in the scandal, which also involves 2 nonprofits. Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver Davante Adams has been charged with misdemeanor assault this morning for an altercation with a photographer. The incident occurred following the ending of the Raiders-Chiefs game Monday night while walking off the field. According to a police report filed with the Kansas City Police Department, the photographer went to the hospital after Adams allegedly shoved him. Adams is scheduled to appear in court for the assault charge on Thursday, November 10th. If convicted, the wide receiver could face up to 15 days in prison and a $750 fine. According to ESPN, the NFL is reviewing the incident for a possible league punishment. Back in Stillwater, Cowboys' Avery Anderson has been named a preseason All-Big 12 selection by the league's coaches earlier this morning. The senior guard is the 14th player in Cowboy history to receive the recognition and the first OSU player since Cade Cunningham in 2020. Anderson played in all 18 conference games for the Cowboys last season, averaging nearly 12 points per game, 3 rebounds, and 3.5 rebounds while shooting over 36% from the field. While Anderson was the lone Cowboy to be selected, forward Moussa Cisse was named an honorable mention for the selections. Sticking with OSU athletics, a new website has been passed for Posse members. The new website is intended to be for donations to OSU athletics and grow NIL funds. The website features links to giving events and donor benefits, just to name a few things. Associate Athletic Director Ellen Ayers said, quote, "The Posse is focused on empowering our student athletes to strive for and achieve excellence in all facets of their college experience. Along the way, Posse members can share in this goal as the team behind the teams. Our updated site will help facilitate giving, and our outreach efforts being a game changer is just a click away." End quote. It's time to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll preview some sports around Stillwater this weekend, and the Thunder have looked good as they wind down the preseason. Don't go anywhere.
Tucked away in the city of Ripley, Oklahoma, the award-winning Washington Irving Trail Museum showcases the heritage and history of Payne County. This museum holds antiques, treasures, and artifacts that one cannot find at any other museum. With hundreds of historical antiques that display OSU history, along with Native American history, the museum has it all. The museum is well known for their book containing pictures and news articles about Frank Eaton, the original Pistol Pete. Dale Kluber opened Washington Irving Trail Museum in 1994 with its collection of historical mementos. This museum is filled from wall to wall with Oklahoman history. The Washington Irving Trail Museum is 15 minutes outside of Stillwater. Experience history at one of Oklahoma's hidden gems.
Hi everybody, my name is Emily Shooping. I'm your marketing coordinator for the Made in Oklahoma Coalition. I'm coming to you with an amazing opportunity. We are teaming up with the Ocali Media Group at Oklahoma State University. We want to tell your story on the following platforms: streaming, newspaper, and digital. This opportunity will not only allow your story to be told locally, but nationally as well. I am so excited for each of you to join in on this tremendous opportunity. This will not only be good for your business, but it will be good for our great state of Oklahoma. You can be expecting an email from me soon with more details about this opportunity. Local has a name, local has a face, local has a flavor. The Made in Oklahoma Coalition.
Over the years, we kind of realized that you can get ribs anywhere, you can get a steak anywhere, but you can't always get a Mountain View hot link like ours. So we really decided to focus on that niche and realized we had something really special. So that's when we started focusing more on the hot links, but it's still the same family recipe they were making all those years ago. For us, many of our people that work here have been with us for years and decades. So whereas machines kind of break down over time, the people just get better. And it shows in the products we produce. When you buy a Mountain View product, not only is it going to taste dynamite, but you're also feeding Oklahomans. You're helping employ Oklahomans, and you're helping to fund the state's economy. So what's better than that?
Welcome back to the Daily O, everyone. I'm Aaron Gonders. Cowgirls soccer has 2 home games coming up this weekend. The first is against the 10th-ranked TCU Horned Frogs. The Horned Frogs come into this game at second in the Big 12 with an overall record of 8-2-4. The Cowgirls are even with the Horned Frogs all-time at 6 wins and 6 losses apiece. The Iowa State Cyclones coming into this one are tied for 9th in the Big 12 with an overall record of 3-7-3. And the Cowgirls hold a 13-10 lead against the Cyclones all time. TCU game will kick off at 7 p.m. on Thursday, and the Iowa State game will kick off at 1 p.m. on Sunday. Another event happening in Stillwater tomorrow night, the Stillwater Pioneers are back home for a matchup against the Bartlesville Bruins. The Pioneers come into this one undefeated overall and in district play. Stillwater looks to continue their recent dominance, especially on the defensive end in the last 3 games. The Pioneers have outscored their opponents 181-13. The Bruins come into this one at 3-3 with district wins against Putnam City West and U.S. Grant. Bartlesville is tied for second in the district at 2-1, and the game will be played at Pioneer Stadium at 7 p.m. And to switch it up, we'll go out to Oklahoma City for some news on the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder are on a tear through the preseason after getting a win against Cade Cunningham and the Detroit Pistons. The Thunder won it 115-99. Cunningham only played 28 minutes for Detroit, putting up 10 points and shooting 3 for 13 from the floor. For the Thunder, it was a little bit different. A balanced scoring effort saw 7 different Thunder players post double digits in the final box score. Lugan Stort, Jalen Williams, and Josh Giddey led the way with 16 points each. And the Thunder close out the preseason with a game against the San Antonio Spurs before regular season starts on the 19th at Minnesota. Before we head into our last break of the show, coming up next, we'll take you back in time on this day in sports history, and we have a really strange sport to show you. We'll be right back on the Daily O.
I'm Kristen Hawkins. I went to Oklahoma State University here in Stillwater in '99 to 2004. I've always felt like Stillwater needed more family-friendly things to do, and we have opened up AR Workshop. We do everything from knitting blankets that can be done in a 3-hour class, and we create doormats and porch signs, the Christmas wreaths with our yarn that we use for the blankets. We also do, we just started a new project for gnomes, and we've done pumpkins during the fall. But our big thing that we do here are interior signs. Our designs are extremely unique too in our workshop. Customers come in, everything is here for them to do. They create everything. They can be as hands-on as they want. They came in here to relax and have fun, and that they are proud of their project that they've made.
A Golf Digest 5-star course, Best New Public Course won an Open in 1994, and a top 100 public golf course in America since 2003. This course, just 5 miles outside of Stillwater, Oklahoma on Highway 51, is named after one of the influential golf pioneers this game has known.
Karsten Creek.
Karsten Creek.
Karsten Creek.
Karsten Creek.
Karsten Creek's a modern golf course.
The beauty of the course is in large part to the elements of the grounds. The Georgia fairways transformed from its original forested landscape. Georgia was used to combat the tough winters so golfers could play year-round. The greens are large and sloping bent grass hills. The low-cut bent grass can be similar to glass during peak championship conditions. The bunkers surrounding most holes remind golfers of a white beach rather than a deep hazard. Lake Louise, surrounded by the second 9, completes the perfect finishing hole. The long par 72 course perfectly combines nature with the difficulty of a championship course. Karsten's added challenge is the Oklahoma wind.
So there aren't any other schools in the country that have that same commitment to college golf as we do here at Oklahoma State.
But if you're going to play at the highest level, you've got to be able to focus on where you want to go, and Karsten Creek does a good job of training you to do that, because if you don't, you're going to have a long day. And that's a great legacy that Coach Holder left, because that's the way he coached.
Welcome back to the Daily O, everyone. I'm Aaron Gonders. It's time to show you what happened on this day in sports history. To start, we'll take you back to 1968. For whatever reason, the Summer Olympics were starting today in Mexico City. It was definitely the fall when they started, so why did they start the Summer Olympics today? The world may never know. Moving ahead to 1979, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson both debuted today. Their debuts marked the beginning of one of the most memorable rivalries in the history of the NBA. Bird went on to win 3 NBA titles in his career. He is also the only person in NBA history to earn Rookie of the Year, MVP Finals MVP, All-Star MVP, Coach of the Year, and Executive of the Year. Magic Johnson ended up winning 5 titles in his career, along with 3 MVP seasons. He also beat Bird's Indiana State Sycamores in the NCAA Tournament Championship while he played for Michigan State. Our last event took place in 1989. In this event, the Dallas Cowboys and the Minnesota Vikings made a trade that would change the landscape of the NFL probably forever. The Cowboys traded Herschel Walker to Minnesota for 5 players and 6 future draft picks. One of those picks would come out to be Cowboy great Emmitt Smith. The trade started the Cowboys' dominance in the 90s, while the Vikings were mediocre until 1998 when they eventually drafted Randy Moss. And next, we have to put on our party hats and cue the confetti, because we have 3 athlete birthdays today. First on our list is women's golfer Christy Kerr. Kerr won 2 majors during her career. She won the U.S. Open in 2007 and the LPGA in 2010. Next on the list is NHL defenseman Mike Green, and Green turned 37 today. He played in the league from 2005 through 2020 for 3 different teams. He trotted across the NHL playing for the Washington Capitals most of his career, and then the Detroit Red Wings and the Edmonton Oilers right before retiring. Our last birthday today is Henry Lansbury. Lansbury is a midfielder with Luton Town FC in the English Football League, and he's most well known for his time in Nottingham Forest, where he scored 32 goals in 145 games. Lansbury also spent time in the Premier League with Arsenal and Aston Villa. Now we'll get into my favorite part of the show, strange sports. Our strange sport for today's show is Florentine football, or Calcio Fiorentino. There is indeed a football that is played outside of the US and Canada, only in Florence, Italy though. Can you find this form of that? Florentine football traces its roots all the way back to the Renaissance, when it was played by aristocrats, typically between the holidays of Epiphany and Lent. The game was revived by Benito Mussolini in 1930, and it now has a cult following. Teams for the game are made up of 27 men from each quarter of the city. 3 games each are played in a year in a single elimination tournament. Points in this game are scored by throwing the ball into a net at the end of the court, but if a team misses, the opposite team gains half a point. Okay? So these games are usually characterized between brawls between each side, as mixed martial arts and wrestling are key parts of the game's physicality just to tire out each side. All right, so now it's time to take one last quick look into your national headlines before we let you go. It's been more than 3 years since Los Angeles Angels pitcher Tyler Skaggs overdosed in a hotel room. Now, the person who gave him those drugs will spend 22 years in prison. Eric Prescott K., the former communications director of the Angels, gave Skaggs fentanyl, and there were text messages in Skaggs' phone from the day before his death suggesting that he had asked K to stop by his room with pills late that evening. Skaggs died loaded up on alcohol and drugs, including high levels of multiple opioids. Officials say if he didn't have the fentanyl in his system, the medical examiner determined the pitcher would not have died. Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre says he's been unjustly smeared in the media over his connection to a massive welfare fraud scheme in his home state of Mississippi. He insists he didn't know the millions in grant money he helped secure for a volleyball center at his alma mater came from welfare funds. A state audit in 2020 found that more than $77 million was improperly used from the welfare program meant for the neediest families in the state. 6 people have been criminally charged in the scandal, which also involves 2 nonprofits. Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver Davante Adams has been charged with misdemeanor assault for this morning for an altercation with a photographer. According to a police report filed with the Kansas City Police Department, the photographer went to the hospital after Adams allegedly shoved him. Adams is scheduled to appear in court for the assault charge on Thursday, November 10th. If convicted, Adams would face up to 15 days in prison and a $750 fine. According to ESPN, the NFL is reviewing the incident for a possible league punishment. Now that is going to do it for today's episode of the Daily O. Make sure to tune in tomorrow. We will have you covered for all of the OSU and national headlines you need. For the Daily O, I'm Aaron Gonders. Thanks for watching, everyone. Good night.
We would design something, it was set on the counter, and people was either, if enough of them said, this isn't it never made to the line. Dad was excited that they're all original. They were all designed on Mom's kitchen table, and it gets in your blood after a while.
We're very happy that Pamela and Michael have taken over the business and kept the family going.
We took the business over in 2017. When we found that it was available, we wanted to keep the legacy of family alive, but it was also incredible products that deserved to be a part of Made in Oklahoma's story. We were a part of Made in Oklahoma years ago, and so it kind of grew as Made in Oklahoma grew.
Oklahoma is ingrained into everything that we did. We've been here most of our life. That's what we entailed our whole business on, was the Oklahoma homegrown feeling.
My name is James Ramidi. Fired Up Stilly is the name of the business, and I'm one of the owners. We all 3 met, the 3 owners, working as employees at a similar place like this. What I hope for is for everybody to feel welcome, like family. Not only do I want students to feel welcome to come here and study and use our free Wi-Fi, but also I want adults and families to be able to come in. We've built a connection with a lot of people, and Stillwater's a big community, so we just want to invite everybody to be able to eventually make their way through our doors. Well, definitely the teas, I would say. Most people fall in love with them. They just got a great amount of energy, gets you going through your day, and it just kickstarts you to get everything you need to done. For myself, it would just have to be, being the owner, owning something that, is able to impact other people's lives, and, the way we can affect our community is something that I really have always wanted to do. We love our clients and our customers that come through every day, and we enjoy getting to know them.
You may have been to casinos at some point in your life.
but do you really know the truth behind the game you're playing?
And the casinos were very polemic, or very controversial when they came out. But the truth was, that's all the federal government gave us.
The casino is owned by the Chickasaw Nation and has roughly 600,000 square feet of dedicated gambling space, making it the world's largest casino. It contributed massively to the Chickasaw Nation, posting a net revenue of $1.4 billion for the fiscal year of 2017.